Hello, hello, hello. It's Rycluse doing another one of these. I think it's just going to be a yearly thing now. I'm not re-recording this entire thing an hour before posting it. You are. Same rules as last year, top 10 things of 2024, and anything is eligible. It could be a movie, it could be a sandwich, it could be a meme. So I'm going to just, without preamble, launch straight into the honorable mentions. First honorable mention, Meet the Grams. Now, I am way too fucking white to comment anything on any sort of rap topic, whatever, on a musical level, but I am very capable of recognizing a person being nuked from orbit when I see it. This is, out of this entire exchange that played out earlier this year, this one was definitely my favorite, just both for the sound of it and from the fact that I've probably never heard anything so devastating. In the immortal words of Angriest Pat, I would kill myself if this song were written about me. Next honorable mention, Ruri Dragon, Chapter 8. The mom from this series is hot. I'm not going to go any further into it than that. Final honorable mention, Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So, boy, D&D has been having a tumultuous couple of years, hasn't it? Their public reputation just continually tumbling down and down and down, and it's really only their legacy keeping it up. Their legacy and the fact that you still can't get the majority of people to play a tabletop RPG other than D&D. Regardless, this has been a year that I've first been getting into the Pathfinder game system and world, and it's been a ton of fun. I've been using the Pathfinder Society to find people who are actually willing to play Pathfinder with me, and I made a metal kineticist who forms his own weapons on the fly, and it's fun as hell, and I'm really looking forward to do more of it. That's actually all I've got for honorable mentions, so I'm launching straight into the list. Number 10, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Celebrity World Championship. So towards the end of 2023, this YouTube channel called RazelX uploaded a video where they used AI voices to have Donald Trump and Barack Obama play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Against each other, using the voices to simulate some funny banter between the two of them. Now, I am an AI skeptic at the best of times, but this is one of the few uses that I'm actually kind of fine with just for a silly novelty, and this user went on to, for this entire year, turned it into a full-on anime tournament arc with a bracket and everything. And it's still really well written. I mean, you can tell that the writing behind this is as human as anything else. And it's just been fun as hell. You can tell that the guy who made this really knows his tournament arcs because it's been hitting all of those really good beats. It's had the kind of the dark horses, the villains, the big rivalries. You had Kanye West doing the Winged Dragon of Ra chant. You had what's his name? Snoop Dogg using black wings because they're black. You had Ultron lobotomizing Ben Shapiro. It's been just an incredibly fun time. Number 9, stopping using Twitter. Last year, I had a couple of extensions for trying to fix Twitter on my top list of things, and maybe that was just putting off the inevitable. After a series of events that are just kind of upsetting, so I don't really want to talk about them, I decided that I'm leaving Twitter behind and only using it for official announcements. And I've started using Blue Sky. Yeah, and Blue Sky is pretty good so far. Who knows if it's ever going to be as big as Twitter was. But I think the more important thing, the reason I'm putting stopping using Twitter on this list instead of Blue Sky is that I think the removal of the negative has had a much more profound effect than any positive that Blue Sky has had so far. Number 8, Dandadan. Dandadan, 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 etc., etc. This was one of the very few new anime shows that I watched this year. And while the first episode didn't quite leave me convinced, it definitely had me on board within a couple more. This is a series that, yeah, as with many things, isn't for everyone. It has some very early installment weirdness in it. But I think that what really convinced me on this series is the two leads. The relationship between the two main characters is just one of the goddamn sweetest things that I've seen on screen in a very long time. And you eventually grow into really appreciating the just the madcat madness of the actual plot. And the OP is also probably my favorite anime OP that has come out this year. Number 7, Tactical Breach Wizards. It's finally here, it's finally here. One of my favorite solo game developers, Tom Francis, has finally come out with his third proper release game, and it is everything that I hoped it to be. It's every bit as fun to play, it's every bit as funny as all of his previous works. It maybe is a little bit different than what we expected it to be. It's more of a puzzle game than a tactics game, but hell, I like puzzles. And the interactions between the characters in this game is just a joy. That scene near the end where they're all sitting around the table trying to figure out their plan for the final mission is maybe one of my favorite scenes this year. They very convincingly portray the relationships and friendships and animosities between all of these characters in a way that's just, it's so fun to see. It really feels like a storied friendship that's built over a very short period of time. Number 6. The first month of Helldivers 2. Note that I am not saying Helldivers 2 here. Helldivers 2 is a pretty good game. I kind of think that Deep Rock Galactic is better than it in almost every way, but it's still a good game. However, I specifically want to talk about that first month because I think that is one of the periods in gaming history that we are going to look back on every bit as fondly as that summer when everyone was playing Pokemon Go, because it was a bona fide phenomenon, the sort that you don't really see all that often. Everyone that I knew that was a gamer in any capacity was playing this game. I wasn't just playing this game with friends, I was linking together multiple friend groups. I was playing with my friends' friends. I had people at work asking me how the fight for democracy was going. The way that this game just had a stranglehold on the internet for about a month was just, it was magical. I mean, it was incredible. And even though Helldivers is still good, I'm still playing it from time to time. That experience of being in on that zeitgeist is going to be a very fond gaming memory. Number 5, the Versus Wolves podcast. Oh, hey, it's the thing that inspired this entire video in the first place. Versus Wolves has officially now gone through its first year, and what a year it's been. We had John slowly losing his mind playing Dokapon Kingdom. We had the terrifying mind games that led up to the Vinland Saga recommendation. We had people doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We had Caribbean food. We had the Shibuya incident. It's just been a great time. This is such a fun podcast. If you don't know, it's the two content creators, Super Eyepatch Wolf and Wooly Versus, essentially having like an adversarial book club, maybe I would call it, where they recommend each other some sort of experience. Oftentimes it's media, sometimes it's something completely off the wall, like listening to the discography of Kendrick Lamar, or trying out boxing for the first time, or going to a fighting game tournament. It's been a really good time. I'm enjoying the friendship era while it lasts. Number 4, the year of expansions. I almost separated these into individual entries, but it would have taken up a significant portion of the list, and they're all kind of here for the same reason. All of my favorite gaming experiences this year have been DLCs or expansions or updates to games that have come out in previous years, starting in the early summer with Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Even though it took a little bit of time to sort of get into it and get going, as usual, From Software games really come into their own with the DLC. Two of the bosses in this game, Bale and the final boss, have instantly entered my pantheon of favorite FromSoft bosses of all time. So much in the little minutiae of the mechanics of this, I feel, has finally made Elden Ring its own thing. And the expansions that it makes to the lore are just fascinating. Then after that, we had Slay the Princess the Pristine Cut, which I did a stream of here, and has gone on to inspire a video that is coming to the main channel soon, I promise. Probably, I don't know, mid-late January, I hope, with some new routes added to that game that have done so much for the overall narrative that game is creating. And finally, Factorio's Space Age, which I would probably say is my favorite of the three. I'm currently working through it. You're looking at footage of me playing it right now as I go through some very embarrassing attempts to refactor my Fulgora base. Factorio is really the trendsetter when it comes to automation games, and in my opinion, is still the best and most tightly designed. And every single little thing that has been added into this expansion has been so much fun to work through. Number 3, Kagurabachi. And this is one that was on my list last year, but I think it has fully earned its spot. Kagurabachi was on my favorite things of 2023 because it had just debuted, had been a meme, but had actually turned out to be pretty good. And it's on my list this year because it has proved that it had some staying power. So the manga Kagurabachi, if you haven't heard of it, it came out last year, was memed as being the greatest thing ever, and then people realized that it's just kind of really, really good. The author is really talented, and to give a microcosm of how this ended up on my list of favorite things this year, other than the incredibly fun online community, I would focus on one particular thing, which is that they introduced a major villain pretty early on, who arguably saved the manga. Super charismatic, super fun to watch. And this year, that villain died. And I think a lesser story would have tried to hold on to that lightning in a bottle, tried to endlessly milk that villain past their time, or constantly try to recapture that past glory. But not only did Kagurabachi kill off this villain when their time came, when it was appropriate for the story, they moved on to introduce another villain who I'd argue was even better. The Rakuzaichi arc that played out over this year showed that this manga was not a one-trick pony, and that it could actually tell really good stories, just one after another. And I'm so happy to have been following this from the beginning, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it next. Number 2, Team Fortress comic number 7, The Days Have Worn Away. Holy shit, it's the reason that I am re-recording this entire video. God, how do I even convey this to people who haven't been following this since the beginning? The TF comics, which are a sort of side story / epilogue to Team Fortress 2, taking place completely separate from anything in the game. It takes place after the game concludes, was just a utterly fantastic comic. It's so funny, it's so entertaining, and I was completely at peace with the fact that it was never going to be finished. I really enjoyed it for what it is, for what it was, but with its last update in 2017, on a cliffhanger, I was just like, well, this is Valve. I guess we're never getting any more. Only for yesterday, the final issue to drop out of nowhere, and it was everything that I wanted it to be. It was funny, it tied up the story at every loose end in ways that I never could have imagined they would actually get a satisfying conclusion out of, and they actually managed to kind of tie a decent moral into the whole thing, about a character whose pursuit of revenge, didn't just consume them, it had just replaced all of their reasons for existing, to the point where they were just artificially extending their quest for revenge long past the point of it even having a point. And it ended with this, what really felt like a farewell to Team Fortress 2 in general. Just sort of a thank you to all the people who made it possible, to all of the fans, in a conclusion that was honestly getting me teared up. And looking back at the wait, and all of the hours that I've spent in one of my favorite games of all time, in the words of the administrator, it was worth it. Or in some slightly better words, after almost 8 years in development, it was worth the wait. And it would be number 1, if not for, well, number 1. So, 2024 was not a great year for me. It was a year of bad stuff going on in the news. It was a year of bad stuff going on in the family. It was a year of upsetting things happening in my personal life. It was a year of my mental health going up and down constantly. And when I look back at what happened to this year, at the things that didn't just take me out of it, but things that helped me heal. I look back to a vacation that I took that over the course of 2 weeks, the longest vacation I've ever took in my life, other than summer vacation as a kid, where I went all around the country. I visited friends that I had in the far corners of the nation, people I hadn't seen in a very long time, and it was my favorite thing that happened this year. America the Beautiful is my number one thing of the year. I was up in the far north. I was in the far west. I saw this fat ass of a penguin in an aquarium, and I love him dearly. I went to the Grand Canyon with my younger brother. I saw some friends that I haven't seen in person in the better part of a decade. And it wasn't perfect. I learned some things about myself, like the fact that no matter how much fun I'm having, I actually really don't like being away from my own house and my own bed for more than about 10 days. I also found out that navigating Chicago takes way more time than I thought it did. But that doesn't change the fact that taking this trip really helped me reevaluate a lot of what was really important in life. And I think that was a good way to cap a lot of things off. And so, on to 2025, which we can only hope and work hard is going to be better than the last one. Farewell, have a happy holidays. Main channel video coming soon, I promise. Peace out.